Hello students. In the earlier classes, I started ecology. In that, I also completed the first chapter of ecology, that is organisms and population. And today we are starting a new topic, the second chapter, that is ecosystem. Let us go to the details of this ecosystem. Now, ecosystem can be defined as the total living and non-living components of the environment present in the particular area. That means in a given area, how many number of biotic components and abiotic components are there. And this biotic and also abiotic components together called as ecosystem. Whereas AZ Tensile, no need to remember these initials, just you remember Tensile. The word ecosystem, it is first of all given by Tensile. Here I clearly mentioned the term ecosystem coined by a British ecologist, that is A.Z. Tensile. According to Tensile, ecosystem is a symbol of structure and function of nature. Whereas one more scientist we need to read, that is Odum. If you take this Odum, he is a father of ecosystem ecology. Please understand, he is a father of ecosystem ecology. Whereas according to him, that means according to Odum, ecosystem is the smallest structural and functional unit of nature or the given environment. Now, let us take some types of the ecosystem. The first type of ecosystem is natural and artificial ecosystem. That means naturally means by default nature it accommodates few ecosystems. What are the terrestrial ecosystem and also aquatic ecosystems? Terrestrial ecosystem means the land ecosystems are called as terrestrial ecosystems. See, I gave examples also: forest, grassland, trees, a desert ecosystem. So these are naturally existing, no one created. So that's why it comes under natural ecosystem. And also the second one is aquatic ecosystem. That means ponds, pools, ditches, and rivers, and these are also naturally existing in the nature. So these are aquatic ecosystems. And again, aquatic ecosystems are of two types. The first one it is lentic, and the next one it is lotic. Lentic means stagnant fresh water. That means the water which do not move anywhere, so it is a sedentary at a point, then that is called as stagnant freshwater. So such a stagnant freshwater ecosystem, it is called as a lentic ecosystem. Example, lake. See, if you take a lake or a pond, it the water which is present in the pond or lake, it don't go anywhere, the free flowing is not there. If you are reading the biotic and abiotic components of that particular stagnant water, then that is called as lentic ecosystem. Whereas the running water, that means I'm talking about the lotic, running freshwater ecosystems, that means river, it go from one place to another place, it flow, that means free flow, it is there in the rivers. Whereas if you are reading about biotic and abiotic components of that free flowing, free running water, then that is called as lotic ecosystem. Hope you are not confused. Stagnant water, that means water which stay at a same place, it never move from one place to another place, it running water is not there, stagnant, it is sedentary, then that is called as lentic. Whereas the water which can move, the free floating is there in that ecosystem, if you are reading, then that is called as lotic. Hope I think it is clear now. Now the second one, the first one is a natural ecosystem, and I am talking about the second one. This is artificial ecosystem. That means that means they are not present by nature, we created. How? See, I clearly mentioned man-made ecosystem, it is called as artificial ecosystem. For example, cropland, for example, the coming season is rainy season. So what happens by the end of this summer season, this farmers, what they do, they plow their crop fields and they put some sugar cane crop, or sometimes wheat crop, sometimes jowar crop, like that. We are creating, it is not existing by nature, we are creating a type of ecosystem, then that is called as, again, in that there will be so many abiotic factors like soil, temperature, humidity, pressure and all, and biotic components like anyway we are putting plants, but in that there are small annelids like what do you call earthworms, and also some nematodes, and also some birds also will come, and some snakes will come, and rats will come. So we are creating a type of ecosystem, then that is called as artificial ecosystem. The best example is cropland, and also gardens are not present by nature. We, for our recreation, we created this particular gardens. For example, children, if they wanted to play, we need a place, that's why we created this particular ecosystem. So then that is called as, that means man-made ecosystem, it is called as artificial ecosystem. Now, on the basis of their size, which how much big the ecosystem is, based on that size also, this ecosystem, it is of four types. What are they? The first one is a mega ecosystem. That means a very vast, very big ecosystems. They are called as mega ecosystems. The best example is ocean. And the second one is macro ecosystems. That means they are not unlimited, but they are very big. Then that is called as forest. Sorry, example is forest. Whereas micro ecosystem, it is restricted to, it is having its own limitations, like considerably good area, then that is called as pond. Whereas nano ecosystems, like a nano car, so how cute and how small it is. So like in a small habitat, in a small given ecosystem, if you are reading the biotic and abiotic components, then that is called as a nano ecosystem, a drop of water. So these are the examples, and these are the types of various ecosystems based on the size. Now, composition, what ecosystem consisting of, what it is made up of, let us see. Ecosystem, as I clearly mentioned in the definition, if you want, again I'll show it. The total abiotic and also biotic components that is present in a particular area, in the given area, how many biotic components are there, and abiotic components are, this composition, it is called as ecosystem. Now, ecosystem, as we already seen now, it is composed of biotic components and also, I'm sorry, abiotic components and also biotic components. Let us take abiotic components. The first abiotic component is physical or climatic components, and the second one is inorganic components, and the next one is organic components. Why abiotic? Because none of this, they are not having life. Biotic means what? Living components, like human beings. Let us take some plants and some what you call, some ant species, like that, they are having life. Abiotic, that means life is not there, that's why abiotic components. Physical or climatic components means temperature, water, soil, light, etc. So these are the climatic components. Whereas inorganic means some water will be there, for example in an ecosystem, obviously water will be there. Whereas some minerals will be there, like phosphorus will be there, iron will be there, and sulfur will be there. So these are various minerals that are present in the soil. And also obviously atmospheric gases will be there, wind is blowing. And these days I am seeing around 4 5 days, climate all at once it became very cool. And I can see evening times, especially wind it is blowing, in that you can be able to see nitrogen will be there, and oxygen will be there, and also carbon dioxide will be there. So these are inorganic components. And organic components means when the organism is dead, for example let us take one plant is dead or some animal is dead, then what happens? Various microbes, they start decomposing this particular body, and they start dissolving these particular organic substances like carbohydrates and also proteins and also this particular fats. They starts decomposing and they get absorbed in the soil. and that organic substances present in the dead bodies of plants and organisms, they are organic components. And none of this, the physical, inorganic, and also organic, none of these are having life. That's why abiotic. Now let us take the next one of ecosystem, next block of this ecosystem, that is biotic components. Biotic, in the name itself, they are having life. Again, biotic components, they are bifurcated into three groups. The first one, it is producers, and the next one is consumers, and the last one is the decomposers, which are also called as micro consumers. Now let us take one after one in detail. Now producers basically means they are called producers. That means in the name itself they are producing something. What is that? They are autotrophic organisms. That means the ability of an organism to prepare their own food material, that is called as autotrophism. How it is possible? Just think, plants, they can be able to produce their own food material by a most important vital mechanism called as photosynthesis. So that means they don't depend upon others. They depend upon just abiotic components, and then they can prepare their own food material. They just depends upon environment, but they never ever depend upon some other organism to help. So they can prepare their own food material, then they are called as producers. See, I gave examples also plants, because all the plants are autotrophs. Of course there are some parasitic also, that is not our discussion now. Cuscuta is there, and obviously cuscuta is a parasite. So I'm not talking about exceptional cases, I'm talking about the overall cases. All the plants are autotrophs, and some bacteria. So they have ability to produce their own food material. That's why they are called as autotrophs, and all the autotrophs, they are called as producers. Because any other organism, I'll tell you a very very simple way, definitely you will understand. Let us take one cow is there, and some buffalo is there. Now if they wanted to eat something, obviously they eat this producers, that means plants. And let us take one tiger is there. Now tiger, it obviously depends upon this particular buffaloes. Now or some maybe some other herbivores. But if you see the equation properly or clearly, this this buffalo or cow, it is depending upon the producers directly, whereas this tiger or lion, it is depending upon producers indirectly. Why? Because if plants are not there, there is no buffaloes also. And if buffaloes are not there, obviously this particular tigers are also not there. That means organism, maybe directly or maybe indirectly, they are obviously depending upon producers. That you need to understand. Now let us take consumers. So consume, I think by now you must have, after I told, after I explained about producers, by default you will understand what is consumer and what is decomposer. What is consumer? They are heterotrophs. They can't be able to prepare their own food material. That means they need to depend upon some other, otherwise they never get the food material. For example, let us take our we are the examples. Just take, can we prepare our own food material? For example, today you wanted to have paneer fried rice, so you need to get this paneer, but this paneer, it is coming from whom? From a cow. Now that cow, it is giving that particular milk, then you are taking that milk and you are making it as paneer. Now that that cow, it is giving milk, but it is depending upon what? Producer. That means a plant. Now hope you are understanding this equation. That means the organisms which cannot be able to prepare its own food material, that means they need to depend upon others for its food material, then that is called as consumer. Hope you understand. Okay. Now decomposers, which are also called as micro consumers. Decomposers basically, they are also called as reducers, or they are also called as saprops or osmotrophs. What they do, they, if for example, if any consumer is dead, maybe it may met with accident, or naturally it may left its life, but whatever it may be, some dead body is there, obviously this fungus and also certain bacteria, they starts decomposing and adds these particular nutrients. Some of course some they will eat, and the rest of these nutrients, they dissolve it in the soil. So these are called as a decomposers. See, I clearly, very clearly mentioned obtain nutrition from dead organic matter. Then that they are called as decomposers. Even examples also fungi and some bacteria. So all the bacteria they are not decomposers because some bacteria they are even photosynthetic also. In Monera, we all explained this. So again, if I take the topic, it becomes a very big topic. That's why very carefully I'm not taking it. But take your Monera notes, you will understand everything. Now, let us take one more topic, that is consumers. Again, they are of three types. The first one, it is a primary consumer, and the second one is a secondary consumer, and the third one is a tertiary consumer. Whereas tertiary consumer, you can also call it as a top consumer or climax consumer. So let us take the first one. This primary consumer means these are the consumers which are directly depending upon the producers. That means they are the first utilizers. Hope you are understanding. Let us take a cow. It is a first utilizer. You hope you're understanding the equation. You're understanding the logic. They directly depends upon this particular. See, I mentioned it also clear. Directly depends upon the producers. They are called as the primary producers. Now they are depending upon producers. These are producers and they are eating. And on this, if the other organisms are eating, then that is called as a secondary consumer. So these are primary carnivores. You understood, because they are eating this particular herbivores. So they prey upon the herbivores. That means they kill and they eat these particular herbivores. That's why they are called as a secondary consumers. Now the tertiary means they are climax. That means let us take a very simple example. I'll take let us take a small plant, and it is eaten by some rabbit, and this rabbit, it is eaten by some man sometimes, whereas some lion also it will eat, or some hawk also it will eat. That means no one will eat, according to my knowledge, no one will eat a man and no one will eat a lion. Maybe they hunt out of their what do you call, madness, but still they don't eat this lion, according to my knowledge. No one eat hawk in this complete world. That means they are not eaten by anyone. Then they are called as a top consumers or tertiary consumers or climax consumers. Hope you understand. So they kill other animals and eat, but they do not get killed and eaten by any other animal. Then they are called as a top consumers. Hope you understand. Okay, now let us take one more topic. Yes, ecosystem. It's a structure and function. Function is very big. So today's class we will restrict. We will stop ourselves with structure only. So function, actually one class may also we can't be able to finish it. It takes minimum 3 to 4 classes. So today we are not touching this function, only structure. So ecosystem is self sustaining functional unit. Self sustaining, that means it can be able to maintain by itself. I hope you are not understanding. I'll tell one example, obviously you will understand. Let us take one area, some area XYZ. So let us take this ABC area. Let us take A area. Now in that plants are there, and in that herbivores are there, in that carnivores also there, and their climax consumers also there. Now obviously herbivores are eating these particular producers, but because these producers are eating, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I made a mistake. Because this particular primary consumers, they are eating these producers they don't lose. Again they participate in reproduction, again they are increasing in their number. Am I correct or not? Even let us take the secondary consumer, it is eating this primary consumer, but still their number it is not reducing. They can reproduce, again they can maintain their number. That means these ecosystems, they can maintain themselves. So by reproduction, this is all possible due to the reproduction. So that is the reason why I mentioned ecosystem is a self sustaining functional unit. It can be able to maintain by itself. That is the meaning of self sustaining functional unit. Now let us take what is the structure of this ecosystem. Structure of ecosystem, it is having, or it includes four types of things. What are they? Species compositor, and the next one is stratification, and the third one is a standing crop, and the next one is a standing state. What is the meaning of species compositor? Let us take one area. Let's name that area. That area name, what to tell? Mumbai. In that, how many number of plants are there, and how complete animal complete plant species, it may be mosses to big trees, all the number of plants and all the number of animals, because Mumbai may only you can be able to see these human beings, you can be able to see other animal species also, some birds also will be there, some ants also will be there, whereas some mosquitoes will be there, your favorite. So these all species, that means in a given area how many number of plant species are there and how many number of animal species are there, then that is called as a species compositor. So that means the composition of the number of species in a given or a particular area, that is called a species compositor. Now, the next one is stratification. All these species, if you are arranging them in a vertical layers, then that is called as a stratification. Don't worry, I am going to explain this stratification with an example also, then you will clearly understand. For now, vertical layers of a vertical arrangement of the organisms of a given habitat or a given area is called as stratification. Don't worry, again I am going to explain this. I'll come back to this. Okay. Next one is standing crop. Now, in a given area, the amount of biomass, kitna amount of biomass it is present. So this is very easy. Standing crop means one area is there. Let us take continue the same example. Mumbai. Mumbai mein how many living organisms are there? By counting their number, itna amount of biomass it is there. Biomass it is there. Then that is called as a standing crop. Whereas standing state means amount of inorganic substances, that means mitti में कितना what I call phosphorus is there, nitrogen is there, so then that is called, that means estimating or knowing the inorganic substances in the given habitat is called as a standing state. Please don't confuse, because all are starting with yes, and especially the first two are not my concern, because no one usually don't do any mistake, especially the second and I'm really sorry, third and fourth, many students I'll ask standing state and they will answer standing crop, I'll ask standing crop successfully, they will answer standing state. So please don't confuse. Standing crop means the amount of this biomass is called as a standing crop, and a standing state means amount of inorganic substances, that is called a standing state. Now let us take all the four in a detailed way so that you can be able to answer any question. Now let's start the first one. Yes, this is a first one, species compositor or species composition. Now, for your understanding, I pasted one image also. So this is some given forest. Now, in the given forest, how many number of plant species are there? That is called, let us take fir, let us take a pine, and let us take oak. Like that, how many, let us take some deciduous trees. So, how many number of plant species are there, and how many number of animal species are there in a given area? Then that is called a species composition. Hope by seeing this, hope you are understanding. At least here you can see one an information in percentages. See, this is a percentages also. So at least by seeing this, hope you are understanding what is the meaning of species composition. Again, lastly, I'm telling you, in a given area, kitna number of plants are there, kitna number of animals are there, and that is called as a species composition. So each ecosystem has a biotic community composed of a particular group of species. Hope you know the meaning of this. For example, some plants are there, they are restricted to certain area. That particular plants you can be able to see in every area. For example, you can see eucalyptus, it grow usually in cold regions. For example, if you bring to what you call temperate region, they never can be able to grow. Hope you are like getting the logic, you hope you are finding the logic. That means one ecosystem is there, one ecosystem may it is having some particular species, particular organisms. So each ecosystem has biotic community composed of a particular group of species. And very important point, maximum species composition can be seen in tropical rainforests. because all the conditions are freely available, like very successfully available, like good temperature is there, nice water supply is there, sunlight is there. That's why many species will be accommodated in tropical rainforests, whereas minimum vertical occurrence of this particular vertical species can be seen in desert, because desert is a very harsh, very like most temperate region, where it is not a favorable condition for the growth of this species. That's why you can be able to see very very less number of organisms or species composition in deserts. And also this arctic and also antarctic also, sorry, I could have mentioned polar regions, but chalo, hope you can understand. That means polar means extremely less temperature, whereas extremely high temperature in deserts. Both are extremes only. That's why it don't favor, these conditions do not favor the growth of the organisms. That's why very minimum, very less species composition can be seen in deserts and arctic and polar regions, whereas maximum can be seen in this tropical rainforests. One thing, a species composition, it differs from one ecosystem to another ecosystem based on its geography and topography and also climate. Especially climate, it is like a key factor. It is a key factor that decides any type of species that is present in a given area. For example, rudraksh plant is there. Rudraksh plant, have you ever seen in our area and our tropic area? It is restricted to some polar regions only. I'm sorry, it's not polar region, I'm really really sorry. They are not restricted to polar region, but small little cold temperate regions. They need little coldness, understanding. If you bring to our region where the hotness is like more, this rudraksh plant, it never can be able to grow. That means climate decides, and topography decides, and geography it decides, and what is the species composition of that particular ecosystem. Now, let us take the second one of this ecosystem, that is stratification. Hope you remember, I told I will explain it in a clear way. Now, I brought this example. Stratification means vertical zonation. What is the meaning of vertical zonation? See, this is a actually this is an example I have taken of a forest. Now, in a forest, tree occupy the top vertical strata of the forest, whereas the next, see, trees are occupying the first place, and just go below this, and of course these are also like medium tall trees, and the second one, it is shrubs, and then it will be herbs, and then it will be grasses, that may, and then it will be lichens, and like that, in a given area, various groups of plants are there, or various groups of animals are there. If you are grouping them in a vertical way, in a linear way, then that is called as a stratification. So tree occupy top vertical strata of forest, and second place goes to shrubs, and third place goes to herbs, and the fourth place and last place it goes to grasses. And of course I did not mention, and lichens and mosses, it goes even more last one. That means vertical strata means, if you take a forest, now it starts with some barren rocks, like dry rocks, and then the next level it goes to small lichens and small mosses plant, and then if you go thoda upar, then you can be able to see some annual weeds like grasses, something like that. And again, thoda aage jao, again go up, then you can be able to see some small herbs, and then thoda aage jao, you can be able to see some shrubs, and pura upar jao, then you can be able to see this particular trees. Like that, arranging these particular organisms of a given ecosystem in terms of the zonation, then that is called as stratification. Whereas due to this stratification, you can see existence of so many micro habitats and also niches. Please don't tell that you don't remember these two words. Habitat means the place where the organism live, that is called as habitat, and niche means the occupational status of this organism is called as niches. That means this particular forest or any aquatic ecosystem or ocean, it provides so many habitats and so many niches. But in a very bad environmental conditions, or in the absence of the favorable environmental conditions, the vegetation both flora and also fauna, they completely drops. For example, for this also I brought example, desert ecosystem have very very less trees and shrubs, and even animals also very here I mentioned the tree population, that means what I call plant population. But if you take the animals also, desert me you can be able to see maximum number of the animals. That means stratification may, of course, it accommodates various number of habitats, it accommodates various number of niches, yes I do accept, but it depends upon the environmental or climatic conditions. That is a very important point what you need to remember. Hope you understand stratification now. Now you will understand because I have brought this example. You can see this images also, then you can even more clearly you can understand. Now let us take the next one, standing crop. As I already told you, kitna biomass, living biomass it is present in a given area, एक area में. Hope you remember I have taken the example of Mumbai. In that particular area में कितना amount of biomass it is present, living biomass it is present, then that is called as standing crop. Whereas this is standing crop in terrestrial ecosystem, that too in forest it is more. See, that's why I brought the examples. Now this is one forest standing crop. See, trees are occupying big portion, and also bacteria is occupying very very less portion, and animals and also fungus and also archaea, like that. In a forest this is a living biomass. Let us take in a terrestrial, some human beings are there, and what I call, some what I call, animals are there. So these are all the living biomass that is present in a given area, then that is called as standing crop. And obviously the biomass it is great in forest, and it is very less in grasslands and arid ecosystems. So this is called as standing crop. Now let us take the last one, standing state. Standing state means a given area is there, in that given area how many number of mineral nutrients are there, then that is called a standing state. See, the amount of nutrients, that means mineral nutrients, I mean mineral nutrients, example nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, iron, etc etc are present in a given area in the given time, then that is called as a standing state. See, let us take, this is one area. In this area, some nitrogen is there, some potassium is there, some phosphorus is there, some molybdenum is there, like that, some iron is there, some zinc is there, like that. How much amount of or kitna amount of this particular nutrients, mineral nutrients are present in the given area in the given time, that is called a standing state. See, let us take, this is a biotic component. Now if you take this biotic component plant, to support the growth of this particular plant, how many number of inorganic mineral nutrients are present in the soil, and that percentages of individual mineral nutrients that are present in the given soil is called as a standing state. Now the next topic is functioning of ecosystem. Students, it is not possible to take a functioning of ecosystem in this class. Reason is really this all the four topics. First of all, let me tell you, functioning of the ecosystem, that means what are the functions of ecosystem. It has four topics: productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and also, that means here you will read food chains, and also biogeochemical cycles, that means cycling of nutrients. So all the four topics are big. That means each and every topic it takes one class at least. That's why I'm not taking this functioning of ecosystem. So today we will stop our lecture. Hope you understand today's lecture, and any doubts you can ask me. Thank you so much.